Picture this. You're sitting in class when out of nowhere an alarm goes off saying that your school is officially in lockdown. All the students are panicking because no one knows what's going on except for you, because you actually know why the school went into lockdown. And to take it one step further, you were the one who caused it. I'm sure you have a lot of questions about what I could have possibly done to get myself in a situation like this, so let me take you back to the morning it all started. So everyone knows that there are two places inside a school where anything can happen. Number one, the school bathroom, and number two, the locker room. Well, the locker room is where this story begins, and if you're not familiar with why locker rooms are so crazy, it's for a couple reasons. There's usually not teachers around, everyone just got done with PE class, so everyone's a little bit high energy, and there's a bunch of people in a really small space. Also, this is really the only place inside school where you can do a bunch of crazy things and not get in trouble for it. Actually, never mind. You can get in trouble in here. And me and my friend Jerry proved that when one day, after PE class finished, we were heading into the locker room. Our teacher, who we called Coach Martinez, blew his whistle and told everyone that it's time to go back to the locker room and change. But here's the thing about Coach Martinez. The moment we got back into that locker room every day, he would always vanish into his office and turn on some football highlights or something. So he never paid attention to anything we did in that locker room. And what happens when there's a bunch of unsupervised students all in the same area? Chaos. The second Coach Martinez would shut his door, the whole locker room would always turn into mayhem. Kids are throwing dirty socks at each other. One kid's blasting music from his horrible speakers. And then there was Jerry, who was my friend and also a very important part to this story. You see, Jerry was this short kid with curly hair who had literally no concept of danger. Like, I'm talking about a guy who literally dared people to shoot fireworks at him during the 4th of July to see if he could dodge them. He got a second-degree burn that day, but I'm pretty sure that's what he wanted to happen. So if you combine Jerry, a crazy person, with the school locker room, a crazy place, you're gonna get a bunch of crazy things happening. And one of those crazy things that always happened in the locker room was a game me and him created, which involved Axe body spray and a lighter. I'm sure just by saying that, some of you already know where I'm going with this. But for those of you who don't, if you have Axe body spray or any type of body spray, and you also have a lighter, if you spray it while holding the lighter in front of it, it almost creates a flamethrower effect. So what a couple of us students would always do in the locker room is turn off the lights and play this sick, twisted version of hide and seek. Except, instead of just tagging each other when we found them, we would scare whoever we found by shooting these little bursts of flame right at them. And I know what you guys are all thinking. Tyler, this sounds awesome. Like, why didn't I think of this? And you're absolutely right. It was awesome. But unfortunately, it was also very dangerous. The game would always start the same way. Jerry would flip the light switch, and suddenly, the whole locker room would go pitch black. You literally could not see your hand in front of your face. Then we would all split up and try finding hiding spots between the lockers, under the benches, behind the equipment, wherever we could squeeze into. The goal is simple. Stay hidden as long as possible and avoid the person who's seeking finding you, because if they found you, they were gonna shoot those flames at you. It was like the world's most dangerous version of Marco Polo. Most of us loved playing this, but we always hated when Jerry was the one seeking, because he would just take everything way too far. While I would do these quick little puffs of flame just to see where I'm going when I was it, Jerry would literally hold down the spray button for 5 seconds, creating a massive ball of fire that would literally light up the room like a dragon. He'd chase people around corners, jump out from lockers, so everyone hated when Jerry was the person seeking. The worst part was how competitive he got about it. If I scared Jerry really good one day, he would have to top it the next day. If I found a good hiding spot, Jerry would have to find an even better one. It kept escalating and escalating until we were having full-blown flame wars in the locker room. It felt like wizards having a battle in Harry Potter, just shooting the fire at each other. Usually, there would be about 5 or 6 of us that were playing at a time, and most of the other kids just thought we were crazy. Everyone else would change into their regular clothes and get out of the way as fast as possible. They were definitely the smart ones. But at some point, almost everyone in that class played the game. And the thing is, we'd been playing this for months without any real problems. Sure, we would accidentally melt a plastic water bottle every once in a while, or burn a hole through someone's gym shirt, but nothing serious ever happened until it did. Because during this particular day in PE, we were playing basketball, and Jerry's team lost by 1 point. And let's just say, he did not take that lightly. So we get into the locker room after playing, and he's fuming. He keeps looking at me with this mischievous look on his face, and I'm just thinking, I know he's planning something, but I don't know what. Coach Martinez goes into his office like normal, and the moment he shuts that door, Jerry whips out the body spray and gives me an evil smile. Dude, you're not ready for what I'm about to do, Jerry says. And I'm already getting nervous because usually when Jerry says something like that, someone's ending up in the hospital. We flip off the lights like always, and the locker room goes completely dark. I grab a good hiding spot behind the lockers right next to the back wall, making sure I can still keep an eye on Jerry. I'm expecting to see him shoot these little flame bursts like always, but this time, when he sprays that bottle, I see a massive massive flame. I'm talking like 3-foot long flames that are lighting up the whole room. He was holding the can down forever, but he's already in full psycho mode. He's running around the locker room like a fire-breathing dragon, spraying these huge bursts and laughing while he's doing it. The flames were way bigger than anything we'd ever done before, and honestly, it was kind of terrifying. They were so big that you could feel the heat right when he sprayed them. That's when I realized he wasn't using a normal can of Axe body spray. No, he got the industrial-sized can. I didn't even know that existed. He was making the whole locker room smell like chemicals with how long he was holding down that spray. I decided that I quickly need to get out of my hiding spot because Jerry has clearly lost his mind. And if he catches me, there's nowhere for me to move. But as I'm crawling out from behind the lockers, my foot kicks something onto the floor. I looked for it trying to pick it up, and that's when I see that it was a hand sanitizer bottle I kicked. Because what I didn't realize when I picked up the bottle was that a lot of hand sanitizer fell onto the floor when I kicked it. And this would end up being a huge problem just a few moments later. At first, I didn't even know this happened. I was more focused on not getting torched by Jerry's flame show. But then I hear him coming towards my area. And when I see him spray that can this time, there's a massive burst of fire heading for exactly where I'm crouched down. The flame is so bright that for a second, I can actually see everything in the locker room. And that's when I notice there's a puddle of hand sanitizer on the ground. It's all over the floor right next to me. And I mean like all over. So what happened next felt like a movie scene because it all happened in slow motion. I see Jerry spraying his flame, getting closer and closer to that puddle. So my brain starts screaming, oh no, this is about to be really bad. Because if you didn't know, hand sanitizer is flammable. So I try to tell Jerry to stop, but he can't hear me over the sound of his Axe body spray can hissing. And the moment the flame touches the edge of that hand sanitizer puddle, the entire puddle catches on fire. And it didn't just happen for a second and then go away immediately. No, there was now a real fire spreading across the floor. Because the hand sanitizer splashed all over the place when I spilled the bottle. Within seconds, fire is spreading all over the locker room. Jerry finally notices what's happening, and he's just standing there with his mouth wide open, still holding the lighter and can of body spray like he's just frozen in place. The fire is getting bigger and bigger super quick, and we realize this isn't a game anymore. This is a real fire spreading in our school that we started. We both start panicking and try to stomp it out, but that just spreads the hand sanitizer even more. I grab my shirt and try to smother part of it, but the fire was so strong at this point that did nothing. Jerry yells, yo, we gotta get water. But by the time another student runs to the showers, fills up his water bottle, and comes back, the fire had spread so much that just a little water bottle wouldn't do anything. And after a couple more seconds, the worst noise you could possibly hear in this situation goes off. The fire alarm. We gave up entirely on trying to stop the fire now and just left the locker room because that's what you're supposed to do when you hear the noise. Line up in a single file line, and then when every student is there, walk out of the classroom together. Which is pretty funny, by the way, because when there's actually a fire going on, no one's listening to those rules. When there's a real fire, it's every man for themselves trying to run as fast as possible and just get out of there. We don't got time for a single file line in alphabetical order. And plus, my last name starts with a V, so I'm at the back of the line. I ain't waiting for all those people in front of me. Like they're basically saying, if your last name ends in TUVWXYZ, you're cooked. So all the kids just run out of the locker room as fast as they can, not in a single file line. When we get out of the locker room, we see that a bunch of other classes are lining up in a single file and going out of their classroom too. Teachers are shouting instructions, and students are starting to pour onto the grass. All the students from the other classes were moving at a pace that said, we know this is a drill. Except, this isn't a drill. And only me and the other students in that locker room knew that. When we see all the other classrooms coming out into the yard, I grab Jerry's arm and say, Jerry, whatever happens, do not tell anyone that we did this. We just get swept into the crowd of all the students heading for the exits. Everyone is talking and laughing because they just think it's another normal drill. Some students are playing jokes, some are playing rock, paper, scissors. I heard one person say that someone's fart probably set off the fire alarm. As we're walking toward the field, I keep expecting someone to just grab me and drag me towards the principal's office. When we finally all make it outside to the grass, the reality of what just happened hits me. There are hundreds of students gathering onto the field. Teachers are doing head counts, and we're just standing there on the grass with no control over what happens. But after a couple minutes, we hear another terrifying noise. Fire trucks. I thought things couldn't get any worse, but then over the intercom, I hear the vice principal say, students and staff, we are currently dealing with a serious incident in the boys' locker room. Emergency responders are on the scene. Please remain in your designated areas until further notice. Now, me and Jerry realize how serious this situation got. Because I don't know how much it costs for fire trucks to come, but I would imagine it has to be pretty serious for them to call them. Me and Jerry just stare at each other with that look on our face that said, we're cooked. we're cooked. There were 3 fire trucks that pulled up to our school. Bit dramatic if you ask me. But I'm watching all these firefighters rush into our school with their big suits on and their oxygen tanks. And I'm just thinking to myself, this is all happening because Jerry and I were pretending to be wizards shooting flames. Jerry keeps giving me these panicked looks as the situation elevates, and I can just tell he's gonna blow our cover. The paranoia starts setting in pretty quickly. Every teacher that walks by feels like they're studying our faces, trying to figure out if we look suspicious. When Coach Martinez does a head count of our class, I'm convinced that he stares at me and Jerry for a lot longer than all the other students. About 20 minutes after we evacuated the locker room, another announcement goes off that made everything 10 times worse. We are asking all students who were in the boys' locker room during 5th period to report to the main office. We're done! We're done! We're done! Me and Jerry just go completely pale when we hear this. We're both thinking the same thing. They have to know something. I think about just running off of campus and acting like I was never even at school that day, but we had to go. If we don't report with everyone else to the office, that's gonna look a lot more suspicious than if we did. So we joined the group of the other 15 guys or so that was in the locker room with us, and all of us walked towards the main office. The whole time we're walking towards there, I'm trying to think of a good story. What were we doing when the alarm went off? Where were we when the alarm went off? Did we see anything suspicious? I'm running through every possible question they might ask, trying to make sure me and Jerry have the exact same answers so we don't contradict each other. While we're waiting in line to be questioned, I overhear some of the other students talking about what happened. One student said he smelled smoke right before the alarm went off. Another one says they saw nothing. But here's the thing. None of the students mentioned the game of hide and seek we were playing. And I think I know why. Because at some point, almost every person in that PE class played the game. So if they told the principal that we always played that game in the locker room, we would all look guilty. When it's finally my turn to talk, I'm sweating through my shirt like I just ran a marathon because I cannot lie. The faculty members got this notebook and she's asking me basic questions. Was I in the locker room? What time did I leave? Did I see anything unusual in there? I stick to the simplest possible answers. I was changing after PE class. I left around the normal time. No, I didn't see anything weird. They were writing down everything we said in this official looking notebook. It felt like we were being interrogated by the FBI. They ask if we know about students playing with fire or aerosol cans while in the locker room. And I panicked because yeah, we were, but I just try to play it cool and say, aerosol? What even is aerosol? You talking about the soccer team? Then they asked Jerry questions, and I'm watching his face while he was giving answers, and it just made me so confident that he was gonna screw up. But he was able to stick to the plan and give a good, convincing story. We were just changing clothes, left at the normal time, didn't see anything suspicious. After the questioning, we were told to rejoin our class group, but the waiting continued. We were just stuck outside on that grass while the fire department did their work. After maybe 2 hours, they finally started letting us back into the buildings. But instead of going to our regular classrooms, they herded us all together in the gymnasium. Apparently a lot of the school smelled like smoke because it traveled through the vents. By the time we sat down on those awfully uncomfortable gym bleachers, everyone had their theories as to what happened. I even heard one person's theory was that the lunch lady's cooking abilities finally caught up to them and they caught the whole kitchen on fire. Jerry and I just sat there listening to what everyone thought happened, and we were just relieved that no one actually guessed what really happened. Who would think that 2 dummies playing with an Axe body spray can could cause a school-wide evacuation? They kept us in that gymnasium until school got out that day. When school finally ended, me and Jerry went our separate ways and just both agreed, do not talk about this. Pretend it never happened. But we had no idea what would be waiting for us the next couple of days at school. Because for the next 3 days, the investigation ramped up big time. They brought in fire investigators to find out how this whole thing even happened, what the source of it was. And that really worried me and Jerry because obviously, these people were probably pretty good at their job. So I'm sure they would figure out exactly what caused the fire, aka Dumb and Dumber. For these couple days after the incident, the locker room was blocked off from even entering. So we couldn't even see inside it and see how bad the damage got. All me and Jerry could do at this point was wait. But during this time of waiting to find out the cause of the fire, our entire gym class, who was all in there when the fire actually started, was still getting questioned. Although none of the staff was sure how the fire started at this point, whether it was a mistake from the school or if it was students that caused this, they weren't letting us off the hook because we all seemed like the most likely suspects at the time. So we would get pulled out of class almost every day to be interviewed. It was a different person that worked for the fire department, I'm guessing, almost every time. And they were just asking us to give a clear picture of the situation that we saw. These interviews scared me because although I knew that me and Jerry wouldn't say anything, we weren't sure if any of the other students in the class would. The only hope we had was that since they all played the game too, they wouldn't want to get in trouble either. Because if me and Jerry went down, we were going to make sure everyone went down with us. And since we played this game in the dark, did anyone actually see that Jerry was the one shooting the flames that day? We had no idea. About a week passes by, and for the first time, I'm starting to think that we might actually get away with this. The investigation seemed to be dying down. No one was mentioning our names specifically, and I was beginning to convince myself that we were in the clear. But right when we thought this, a new character entered the story. Anthony was this kid who wore the same black hoodie to school every day and didn't really talk much. Matter of fact, until this interaction we had that I'm about to tell you, I didn't even know what his voice sounded like. So I wasn't friends with Anthony, but I definitely wasn't enemies with him either. But I guess he thought otherwise. Because a week after this fire incident, Anthony goes up to me and Jerry during PE and he says, "Hey guys," he's got this devious look on his face, like he knows something that we don't want him to know. It's the same look my siblings would always give me when they catch me doing something I'm not supposed to, and they know they have blackmail material on me now. So Jerry responds back, "Sup, Anthony?" Anthony looks around to make sure no one else is listening, and then he gets closer to us, like he's about to break some big secret. And then he goes, "So, that whole fire in the locker room thing, that was pretty crazy, huh?" My pupils immediately dilate. The way he says it, the way he's looking at us, I knew we were about to get blackmailed, but we just try to act casual. "Yeah, it was wild. Good thing no one got hurt." Anthony just nods slowly with that smile on his face that made my skin crawl. "Yeah, good thing no one got hurt. Must have been really scary for whoever actually started it. You know, causing all that chaos and seeing all the other kids getting investigated for something they didn't do." Jerry and I exchange a quick glance that probably looks as guilty as two kids standing next to a broken window with a baseball in their hands. Anthony was on to us like a shark who smelled blood in the water. But still, we try to play it cool. "Yeah, I mean, I guess it's scary. Why are you saying this to us specifically though?" Anthony just shrugs and goes, "Oh, no reason. I just happened to be there right when the fire started, and I saw that my hand sanitizer was on the ground." It was official. Anthony saw us cause that fire, and he saw us completely run away after trying to stop it. But I still say back to him, I don't know what you're talking about, dude." He laughs, but it's not a friendly laugh. No, it's the type of laugh a villain does in the movie right before he reveals his evil plans. Come on, guys. I saw both of you cause it. You really think I'm that stupid? Me and Jerry look at each other and we both realize we're caught. There's no point in even pretending anymore. Anthony continues talking. "Look, guys, I'm trying not to be a jerk here, but this whole situation has been pretty stressful for all of us, right? All the teachers and staff think that we're responsible for it just because we were in that class. But it's really not fair to everyone that didn't cause the fire." So we say to Anthony, "Okay, so what are you getting at here? What's your angle, man? There's no point in trying to fake it anymore." Anthony's smile gets wider, and like I said, I'd never had a conversation with him prior to this. So I didn't know him well, but man, that guy should get into acting because he would be a great supervillain character. He had a grin on his face after we asked him what his angle was, like he already had a plan. And he goes, "Well, I've been thinking about it, and keeping a secret this big is something that deserves payment. I think I deserve some compensation for all this stress." I just say in a high-pitched voice, "Compensation?" "Money. I want $400 from both of you by the end of next week." Seems fair enough for keeping quiet about something that could get both of you expelled. So me and Jerry look at each other again and realize, yep, we're getting blackmailed. This man Anthony is crazy, but also at the same time, I low-key respect it. Like, I respect the hustle, you know what I mean? It was just unfortunate that I was the one being hustled. But $400? To two dudes with no job? I don't have that type of money just lying around in my sock drawer, and I know Jerry doesn't. At the time, all the money I had was in V-Bucks, and I don't think Anthony was accepting that as a form of payment. So we tell him, we don't have that much. I'm hoping that'll make him reasonable and just accept $20 and a pack of gum. Anthony just shrugs again and then goes, "Well, you better figure out how to get it because the alternative is me walking into the principal's office and telling them exactly what I saw." Anthony had us completely cornered. There was no good solution to this problem. So me and Jerry started discussing it. "How do we know you won't just take the money and tell the principal anyway?" Jerry asks him, which is a pretty good question for someone that literally just lit the locker room on fire a week ago. You don't know that. But think about it this way. If I wanted to get you guys in trouble just for fun, I would have done it already. I'm not interested in ruining your lives for free. I'm interested in getting paid for keeping my mouth shut. We definitely didn't trust that Anthony would keep his word, but what choice did we really have? If we didn't pay him, we knew for sure that he would tell on us. So we had to go with the best option. "Can you at least give us some more time to get the money?" I told him, already thinking about how I'm gonna have to sell everything I own and probably rob a bank. "You have until next Friday. Give me the cash that day, or I'm going straight to the principal's office." The next couple of days, me and Jerry were moving like businessmen. We did whatever it took to get that money. I emptied my savings account. There's $3. Sold my PlayStation games to GameStop for 14 cents each. I even started selling candy at school, trying to make money. Friday afternoon, we met Anthony where he wanted to meet and gave him all the cash we had. How much cash did we end up having? Well, I know for myself, I had about 300 that I put in there, and I didn't know how much Jerry had, but he said it was everything he could give. So we handed over to Anthony, hoping that it was enough. And after about 2 minutes of counting, he just says to us, "Pleasure doing business with you guys," and he walks away. So I don't know if Jerry did have enough to make it to $800 or if Anthony's just really bad at counting, but he never told on us. So shout out to you, Anthony, you're a real one. Well, kind of. I did have to sell my favorite games just to pay you, so That wasn't really cool, but I respect it. So now that Anthony didn't catch us, the only thing left to worry about was the school investigation catching us. But after about 2 weeks, the investigation finally wrapped up. The locker rooms opened again, and when we went inside, there wasn't even much damage in it. Just 2 lockers that were stained in charcoal. But did they figure out how the fire started? Yes, they told us they found out it was a mixture of hand sanitizer and heat that caused the fire. But they didn't know any of the specific details. So they just figured that someone accidentally spilled hand sanitizer on the ground, which was true, and somehow heat ignited it. Whether that was from the heater that was inside there, or maybe it was from another way. But they didn't know exactly how. And since nothing got burnt too badly, they just chalked it up as an accident because no one snitched. So me and Jerry got off without any punishment. And what did we learn from this? Absolutely nothing. Because the next month, we went back to playing that exact same game. How would you react if you saw someone pull out a gun right in front of you while in school? Because one day, when I was in school, this actually happened. And you'll never believe why someone did this and what ended up happening to them when the school day ended. It all started during lunch. Everyone's in the cafeteria ready to eat, and our school had 2 options to serve. Option A, chicken nuggets that we all know aren't real chicken and are somehow soggy and crispy at the same time. Option B, pizza that would make an Italian say, "Mamma mia!" Luckily, my mom always made my lunch, so I didn't have to worry about eating whatever the heck was in that stuff. But during lunch every day, me and my friends would always sit in the exact same spot, the far right-hand corner of the cafeteria. So me and my friends are just sitting at this table like any other day, yapping our heads off probably about how beautiful LeBron is, when suddenly, the air in the room changes. It starts with someone smacking their lunch tray on the table super loudly, so the whole cafeteria flinches. Everyone turns around to see what just made that noise, and that's when we see 2 guys near the vending machines all up in each other's faces. I don't know how their argument started, but they were clearly mad at each other. They're shoving each other, going, "Say that again, do something about it." So people start forming a circle around them to watch what's going on. So we're all watching this argument between these 2 guys unfold, holding our cameras up just in case the next school fight is about to happen, even though no one ever ends up getting a good video of it anyway. When one of the kids in the argument shoves the other guy into the vending machine so hard that the Skittles started to dance. The guy looks shaken up for a second, and after looking around realizing that he's just been embarrassed in front of the whole school, he decides he's not gonna let that slide. So he unzips his backpack, scans the room like he's checking for witnesses, and pulls something out that I've never seen in real life before. Only Call of Duty. What was it? A gun. There's a half second where we all just freeze before thinking about what we just saw, and then chaos happens. Screams coming from all over, but this time, not because of the terrifying cafeteria food, and everyone is scattering as fast and as far as they can. Benches topple, trays fly. Even the lunch lady, who always seemed to be moving in slow motion, drops her ladle and starts sprinting like an NFL wide receiver. One of the teachers that supervises lunch is saying, "Get to the nearest room, now!" The PA coughs to life and says, "Lockdown. This is a lockdown. Teachers, secure your rooms. Students, get into the nearest classroom. This is not a drill." I grab my backpack like it's bulletproof, and suddenly, I'm thinking I'm Lamine Yamal dribbling through defenders with the way I'm weaving through the crowds, just trying to get to somewhere safe. The hallway turns into a river, and doors fly open. Teachers are snatching kids by their hoodie strings, their backpacks, whatever they can get, and they're yanking them inside their classrooms. The Spanish teacher is waving for kids to come into her classroom like, "Andale, andale!" Someone slips on chocolate milk and just gets hauled over by everyone else. Eventually, after running for a little bit, I get swept in with the cluster into the biology room. The teacher, who had her lunch rudely interrupted, was waving for kids to come inside, and after the class filled up, she shut the door completely. Then she yanks down the blinds, kills the lights, then shoves a rolling cabinet against the door handle. She whispers to all the students, "Get to the back wall, away from the windows. Phones silent." She sits beside the door, breathing in through her nose and out through her mouth slowly. But I always wondered why in these situations, we're supposed to remain quiet and act like no one was in the room. Like, you don't think the person causing all this chaos has literally practiced these drills before too? We're pretty much just playing hide and seek at this point. But anyways, here we are, probably 40 kids, just sitting silently in this room, knowing that right outside that door, there is someone with a gun. It didn't take long before our group chats are popping off while we're waiting. Texts are coming in from a bunch of different people like, "Did y'all make it out? What class is everybody in? Who had the gun? I heard shots fired." This wasn't one of those lockdowns where you're a little bit on edge, but at the same time, it's kind of funny because you think nothing serious is actually gonna happen. No, because we knew this one was real. We saw the weapon. So my hands are shaking nervously, probably partially due to the fact that I was having an allergic reaction from touching the cafeteria food, but mainly because someone brought a gun to school. In the hallways, we can still hear chaos happening out there with people trying to find classrooms to go into. You hear pounding feet, doors slamming, teachers yelling, and after a couple minutes of the chaos, the school went completely silent. Now, everyone was hiding. And our group chat pings again. I can see into the parking lot. There's cop cars arriving. Once I heard that, I knew the situation was officially serious. After sitting in dark silence for probably 10 minutes, we heard the first noise from outside that we've heard in a while. Footsteps slowly walking towards our door. They stop, and then we hear keys jingle. We can see the shadow of someone coming from underneath the door, and every student inhales the same breath. And that's when we hear it. The handle turns, but the lock holds. So after trying the door a couple times, whoever was attempting to open it walks away. We finally all exhale, but not without being confused. Because who was that? Was it the student with the gun? Was it someone checking on us? A police officer? No one knew, but we sure weren't going to open that door to find out. The PA clicks again, and the vice principal speaks in a monotone voice going, "All rooms remain in lockdown. Do not open your doors." Someone trying to open that door made everyone way more on edge. In the midst of everyone being super nervous, about 3 feet away from me, a kid throws up. "I told y'all that cafeteria food was no good." Or he was just nervous. But the teacher slides over to him, gives him a bag, and tells him to just breathe. So now, the room smelled bad, and we were stuck here with no answers. But little did we know, this wasn't even close to the worst thing that would happen that day. Because after a few more minutes of waiting, rumors started spreading about the situation. And the craziest one that was going around was that some people saw 2 guns get pulled out. I got another text from the group chat saying that the person who brought this gun was planning on doing this for days. I wasn't sure what to believe, and we weren't getting any actual answers. But after a couple more minutes, the sounds of keys jangled at our door again. This time, the person on the other side of the door spoke. "Mrs. Klein?" That was the name of the teacher. But after the voice from outside says that, the teacher goes toward the door, peeks through an opening of the window to see who it is, and it's one of the staff members of the school. So she says, "Yes," and gets a response back saying, "Stay secured. We'll be giving new orders soon." What did that mean? I had no idea. But we would get our answers a few minutes later when the PA clicks again. "Law enforcement is on site. Rooms will be addressed by name. Do not self-evacuate." This didn't sound like a very good plan to me, because wouldn't the person with the gun hear these announcements too? Like, what if you just said, "Room 324, please evacuate," and the dude with the gun is just spawn camping right outside the door? But whatever. They were the adults. I guess they knew what they were doing more than us. Although, I don't even know if that's true, because one time a kid broke his arm after falling off the swings, and they literally just gave him an ice pack. Like, you could literally see his bone poking through, and they gave him an ice pack. So they might not all be the smartest bunch. But regardless, we listened to their directions. Minutes felt like hours waiting for our room to get called. One kid whispers, "My foot's asleep." Someone whispers back, "You better wake it up, because we're gonna have to run pretty soon." Run? Then I get another text from my friends, and find out what the plan was. One by one, they were moving the people inside classrooms into larger, supervised areas, like the gymnasiums. Because remember, this chaos started at lunch, so everyone just ran into the first place they could find to escape. We weren't all in our actual classrooms, so none of us were organized. But moving into a pretty big place like the gym also seemed like a bad idea to me. Because, like, if we're all in this one place, and there's a person with a gun, wouldn't it be way easier to get all of us if we're sitting in the exact same spot? But once again, they're the adults. I'll just trust what they say. But after a little more waiting, someone comes up to our door again, and we hear keys jingling again. But this time, you can hear the key put into the handle and unlock the door. All of us are holding our breaths, wondering if the last meal we were about to eat before passing away was dry-aged chicken nuggets. And then the door opens. And who do we see? One of the ladies that works in the office. Everyone exhales, and she calmly tells us to form a line and follow her. Once we all step outside the classroom, the hallway is silent. Not one other kid is outside of a classroom. But what we do see is a police officer. I don't know if that was reassuring or worrying, because it just made the situation feel way more serious. The lady funnels us into the gym, and once we get inside, half the bleachers are already filled with other students. They're still advising everyone to be as quiet as possible, as if that was going to do anything. But we find our seats in the bleachers, and once again, everyone's whispering what they know about the situation. After hearing a couple kids' stories, it sounded like the general theory of what was going on was the student pulled out the gun, everyone scrammed, and the last thing anyone saw that guy do was point the weapon at the kid he was trying to fight. No one had any details about what happened after that. But little did we know, something way crazier was happening in that school in that very moment with the person who brought a gun. And you'll never believe what actually happened. But as everyone is giving their conspiracies about the situation, there's a mic in the middle of the basketball court, and it turns on, and the vice principal starts talking. "Attention all students. We will remain in lockdown while we complete all our procedures. Please stay seated. It's very important that you don't leave this room." I thought that was weird, because the way she said that made it sound like the person with the gun was still out there on the loose. And they were basically just trying to protect us by keeping us all in the room together. As we're all waiting in the gym, a couple of faculty members start asking students questions. It sounded like the same thing was asked to everyone. They'd go to a row of students and ask, "Were any of you near the cafeteria incident?" If we said yes, they'd ask if we saw the item the person had in their hand. But the next question was really weird to me, because then they would say, "Do you know where it went?" That was the question where I got super confused as to what was going on. Why were they asking us where the weapon went? Did they not know? Were they looking for it? Were we still in danger? Now, I didn't feel safe once again, but we would later get the answer to all these questions. A couple minutes later, on the other side of the gym, we see two police officers enter through the doors with a clear bag in their hand. After looking a little closer at it, we were able to see a backpack was in it. While we were wondering why a police officer would have a backpack in a bag, it hit me. That was the same backpack I saw the student pull a gun out of. So what did this all mean? Did they find the student? Is he in custody? Well, if that was the case, surely they would have let us out by now. And I'm no detective, but I'm pretty sure they would not have been asking us where the weapon went if they had it. All of us students are left in the gymnasium wondering the answer to these questions. But after a few more minutes of waiting, finally, the principal comes to the mic for the first time. The room hushes altogether because our principal meant business. So we knew if she was talking, it meant we should listen. And then she goes, "Thank you guys for remaining calm in this situation. Here is what we can share. A student displayed an item that resembled a firearm. We are continuing our process in making sure that everyone is in a safe area. So please remain seated." Do you know what this speech sounded like to me? It sounded like they have no idea where this guy is at. And I wasn't the only one who thought that. So after the principal got done talking, everyone was even more on edge now. Once again, after sitting around doing absolutely nothing in the gym besides looking like fresh bait, people all start whispering to each other around the same time. And suddenly, there was a new rumor going around all the students. What was the rumor? I don't know how it started, but people were whispering that friends of the student who brought the gun were saying that he was planning on doing this for a while. What did that mean? This may have been planned. But that wasn't all, because there was one other thing they were saying. He had a friend with him. No one knew whether to believe this or not, but the reality of the situation became a lot more clear just a little bit later. And it became obvious what the adults weren't saying. They haven't caught the student yet. And that was pretty much confirmed when we heard one of the police officers' radios slip up, because we could hear a voice coming through it saying, "Suspect is still thought to be on the premises. Be advised." That was probably the worst thing we could have heard, knowing he was still on the loose while we were all packed like sardines in the same spot. As we're all freaking out, the principal, who was basically just doing quality control the whole time, making sure all the students tried to remain calm, suddenly puts her walkie-talkie to her ear. And I don't know what they said to her, but it must have been bad, because immediately her face drops and she starts running towards the double doors and bursts through to outside. She's outside for probably 5 minutes before coming back in with a completely different look on her face. Just a look of absolute shock. She walks back up toward the mic, clearly getting ready to say something, but none of us had any idea what was about to come out of her mouth after what she just did. Then she goes, "Thank you guys for all your cooperation. We can confirm we've caught one of the students. Law enforcement has taken them into custody. We're still continuing our process, so please remain in place." Wait. Did she just say one of the students? Meaning there's multiple suspects? And also, was this the reason they were asking about if anyone knew where the weapon was? This changed the whole scenario. Everyone was whispering again to each other about what they thought was happening. Now, when this whole cafeteria fiasco happened, I only saw one person with a weapon. So I was asking around to see if anyone had any idea why they were saying they only caught one of the students. Because when the first student whipped out their weapon, and I think most of the school, immediately just ran off without trying to watch the rest of the show. So I wasn't sure. There could have been another student that had a weapon. But what is this? The school from South Park? Why do we have so many people bringing guns to school all of a sudden? It's starting to just feel like a GTA server up in math class now. It felt like no one had an actual good answer for why the principal said they only caught one of the suspects. As I'm sitting there, my brain tries to help by replaying the cafeteria situation over and over again. The reach into his backpack, the pointing of it. Did I miss anything? Was there another person that pulled something out? It was all a blur when I tried playing it back. And the only thing I could remember is hurdling a kid like Saquon Barkley as I'm trying to get out of there. So we're still in there, waiting and waiting. and nothing is getting resolved. The principal is still pacing around, looking like her job was on the line, which it probably was, when a cop starts walking over to her. She looks at him, obviously hoping for some good news for the first time today, and the cop whispers something in her ear. I was expecting her reaction to whatever the cop said to be one of two things, either extreme sadness or extreme relief, but instead, she just looked confused. So what could the cop possibly have told her? Well, we would get our answer about a minute later when she walks over to the mic once again. By this point, everyone knew to go completely silent whenever she got close to that thing. She opens her mouth and goes, "Students, we can confirm that the person with the weapon is no longer on school property, but the situation is still ongoing, so we need you to remain inside." Okay, so the person with the weapon isn't on school property anymore, but why didn't they say they've caught or detained them yet? Something fishy was going on here that she wasn't telling us, and we would get the truth to it just a little bit later. Because then, another cop came walking through the door with an evidence bag in his hand. What's inside this bag? A scuff, blacked, pistol-shaped object. Everyone is silent, locked in like a mom watching her favorite soap opera, just looking at the cop with the weapon in the bag. This must have meant they took care of the situation, right? They got the weapon, everyone's safe, we can all go home now and get a free week off of school for emotional damage. Well, I wish that's what happened, but it wasn't over yet, because we hadn't been released from the gym. So we knew it wasn't safe outside yet. And then in the moment we're all waiting for, just as my butt is getting so sore that I thought it was gonna stick to the bleachers, the principal hops on the mic and says what we've all wanted to hear. "Students, both suspects have been caught and taken into custody. I want you to know that you're all safe and there's nothing to worry about. We will start dismissing you all soon." So everyone lets out a big exhale, knowing the situation had finally been resolved. But this didn't mean it was over, because of two things. Why would the cop ask if we knew where the weapon went? And why did the principal say that they only caught one of the suspects a couple minutes ago? Well, after the whole situation finished, and we finally got the truth about what actually happened, here's exactly how it all went down. So the student we all saw pull out the weapon in the cafeteria was not the one that the cops were looking for. Why? Well, because when the person who actually had the weapon saw everyone freaking out and running away, he realized what he just did and how serious of a situation this just became. So in a panic, he gave the weapon to his friend and told him to go hide it. A bunch of staff members saw this person with the gun, so they assumed that this was the one who pulled it out originally. The student is running around with the gun until he finds a good place to hide it, which ended up being in a bathroom toilet. And he gets caught by law enforcement a little bit later. That was when the principal announced that they caught one of the suspects. So where does this leave the student who originally pulled out the weapon? Well, after he realized how big he just messed up, he ran away too. But he didn't just run off to a classroom. No, he ran to the McDonald's down the street from our school that I went to a lot. But he basically just stayed inside there, hoping the situation would get resolved. And after a couple hours, the police found him there and caught him. So the whole time they were searching around the school, they had no idea if he was still on campus or not. And when they finally found him, that's when they released all of us students. But you know what makes this whole situation ridiculous? The weapon the student brought was a BB gun, not a real one. And he just pulled it out because he was trying to intimidate the guy that just embarrassed him. So was he actually planning to do something bad with that thing? No, but it didn't stop him from getting expelled. But the worst part about this whole situation was after this happened, we still had to go to our next class. Picture this scenario. You're sitting in class and out of nowhere, an announcement goes off over the intercom saying there's an armed intruder on campus. They say to lock the classroom doors, turn the lights off, and hide under the desk. And no other details are given. At first, you just think this is another school drill that happens every week. But then you hear a loud bang. Then you realize this just might be real. Because a couple years ago during school, this is a real experience I went through. It started out like any other day where I'm in math class unsuccessfully flirting with the girl I like. But then something that had never happened before occurred. An announcement was made over the intercom. And obviously, announcements go off all the time. That's not unusual. But this one was different. Because normally, when they're speaking over the intercom, they're just saying random things that no one can understand or cares about. They'll be like, "To the person who threw human feces on the wall in the bathroom, please come to the office." And the tone they say it in always makes it sound like they haven't experienced joy in their life since McDonald's got rid of the dollar menu. Bruh. So imagine how odd it was during the announcement when the person speaking was whispering. I'll give you a reenactment of exactly what they said. "Attention, this is not a drill. There is an armed intruder on campus. The school is going into lockdown. Teachers, lock your doors, turn your lights off, and tell everyone to get under their desk." Immediately when this announcement went off, I'm looking around to make sure the kid that wore black Air Forces to school every day was there because I did not trust him. Because anyone who wears those shoes to school every day
terrifies me. But he was there, so I knew it wasn't him. The weird thing though is that you may think this ominous sounding announcement would be enough to make all of us students panic, or to at least understand that the situation was not a joke. But apparently not, because our class was still messing around. The whispering part definitely seemed a little weird, but still, we were hiding under the desks, but everyone was making jokes. No one thought it was real because we would do these drills all the time during school, and they would never tell you whether it was fake or an actual serious situation. So all the students just assumed it wasn't because we did this like every week, and I was one of the people not taking it seriously. I may be the only person to get my phone taken away during an actual school lockdown because I was playing Clash of Clans. I'm not even kidding. I opened the app while we were under our desks in lockdown, and that damn ringtone from the game went off. So the teacher heard it and ran over to my desk and took my phone away. That was probably a dumb thing to do looking back on it now. But anyways, the point is, no one thought it was real, so we weren't scared. But there was a specific moment where that all changed because a very loud sound went off. The sound went bang! And I went to that school for 3 years up to that point, but not once in my life being there did I hear a sound that loud. So I knew it couldn't just be a door slamming or banging on a desk, because this was many decibels higher than any of those sounds ever could have made. Everyone in my class heard it, and we all kind of collectively agreed that it was the same thing, a gunshot. So now, there ain't any more laughing. All of a sudden, I'm not so upset that I can't defend my base on Clash of Clans because this felt serious. I'm not exaggerating when I say that there were people in the class that started to cry. Which, by the way, if we're in a scenario that's already stressful, please don't make it worse by saying all the things that you don't want to happen. Like a girl that was next to me while all this was going on was absolutely crashing out, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, we're not gonna make it, are we? Are we? I can't do this. I can't do this. What if we get hurt? What if we get hurt? I'm so scared. What if this person finds us? What if they're dangerous? I'm so scared." Like, girl, you don't think we're all freaking out on the inside? Stop making it worse. We're about to give you the fire extinguisher and ship you off to go fight whoever this mystery intruder is. Sorry, that was too far. I know, I get kind of mean when I'm stressed, but moving forward, I think when the teacher heard this loud bang, they realized that this probably wasn't a drill either. Because when we first went into lockdown, he was just sitting at his desk not doing anything. Probably playing Clash of Clans on my phone, to be honest. But after he heard that bang, he went over to the front door and stood by it holding his big Stanley water bottle as if he was going to use that as a weapon to protect us. And I have to say, I really appreciate the effort to protect the class, but respectfully, if this is a serious threat and our 135-pound math teacher with his Stanley water bottle is our best defense, we might as well give up now. That's like a toddler trying to fight a sumo wrestler. So everyone in class is super on edge, freaking out, waiting to see what's gonna happen next, including me. But the one thing that I couldn't stop thinking about during this moment was a thought that every single man has ever had. And to all the ladies who aren't gonna be able to relate to this, I don't know if you know this about guys, but every single one of us has gone through this exact scenario in our head of there being a school shooter and us saving the school. Usually how it plays out in our head is we're fighting the intruder and everyone is escaping the school, and then after it's all over, we're the hero. And I always thought that if I was actually in this scenario, that's how I would react. I'd be fighting them off and be the hero who saved the school. But this ain't a Marvel movie. So when I got the chance to actually be in this situation, did I do that? Not even close. The moment I heard that loud bang, I tucked into a ball under that desk. I was the least brave one there. I made sure the girl that was freaking out was in front of me just in case the intruder came in. I can't lie, okay? I'm all bark, no bite. So if you ever see me trash talking on the internet or acting super tough, just know that I am lying, okay? I am not actually about that. So the whole class is sitting under the desks after this loud bang went off for about 10 minutes with no updates, just waiting for something to happen. But then it somehow got even more tense because our classroom had a window facing the school parking lot. And after these 10 minutes, the police showed up. Now we knew for sure that something was going on, but it was in this moment that I thought of a genius plan. We're right next to the parking lot. Why don't we just break the window and leave? I know what you guys are all thinking. Tyler, why did you not go to Harvard with how smart you are? Well, apparently the teacher didn't think that way because I went up to him to say, hey, if the situation gets really bad or the intruder comes inside here, how about we break through the window? But when I said that, he looked at me as if I just told him that the earth was flat. To paraphrase what he said to me, he basically told me, no, stupid, that's a horrible idea. Go back under your desk. So I did, but I still kept it in the back of my mind that if things went south, forget everyone else, I'm running through that window like Ray Lewis. So when the cops got there, we could see them get out of the car, but most of them just stood there in the parking lot. They weren't running onto campus to get whoever this intruder was, so that made us more confused on what was actually going on. But then, in quite possibly the scariest single moment of my life, I hear someone try to unlock the door. I've never felt my heart drop more than exactly when that happened. And when I tell you that window was looking real nice to run through at that moment, I ain't lying. But the door was locked, so whoever tried getting in couldn't. And they only tried opening the door once. So after this, our whole class was on edge. No one has any idea where this intruder is, what that loud bang sound was, or why the cops aren't moving. We're all just terrified. and we can't do anything about it. But then another announcement was made over the intercom, and it wasn't very encouraging. The person speaking said, "Attention. Do not open your classroom door under any circumstance, no matter who says they are out there. We will notify the classrooms when it is safe to come out." So basically they're saying, yeah, the intruder is trying to unlock classroom doors. Great. And now, the anxiety of waiting to find out what would happen next was the worst part. I couldn't take it anymore, so I was getting frustrated at everything. Like, I saw one person start doing homework for this class while we were waiting, but his pencil was making a noise every time he wrote, and I didn't want the intruder to somehow hear it, which wasn't realistic, but I was freaking out. So I was like, "Dude, why are you doing that right now?" And he goes, "Ain't nothing else to do." So I said, "Dog, algebra is not worth dying for. Put that paper away." I was not a pleasant person to be around. But after all this time of waiting, we got a third and final announcement. This time it says, "Attention classes, please evacuate to the grass." So the teacher tells us to get up and leave the classroom in a single file line towards the grass area, but all the students are collectively kind of like, "Yeah, we're not gonna do that. We're all just gonna try to cram through the door at once. Every man for themselves at this point." And this is why school drills are so dumb. You think if there's actually something like a fire happening, the students are gonna wait till everyone in the classroom is accounted for and then walk in a single file line outside? No shot. The moment I hear that fire alarm sound go off, I'm running out of that classroom faster than a girl does when I try flirting with her. So we get outside and the whole school is just standing in the grass area confused on what's happening. Because as we were leaving the classrooms, the police were going into them. So everyone is gossiping to each other trying to figure out what happened. But we're not getting any answers because every time we try to ask a teacher, they say they have no idea what's going on either. But after a couple minutes of being outside, we see about 5 cops walking a guy to a police car with handcuffs on. This had to be the intruder, right? Well, that's what we all thought because we watched the cops walk this man into the back of a police vehicle with handcuffs. Everyone thought they caught the guy and that it was all over until we heard another bang. It sounded just like the one we heard earlier. And remember, before this day, I've never heard a sound like that at school. So people are freaking out again because we're all outside now and we have no idea what's going on. So can someone please tell me why schools think it's a good idea to put students outside, exposed in an open field, while there's an armed suspect on campus? We're basically target practice sitting out there like that. So that made it even more scary because we had no cover now. I knew one kid that literally lived right next to school, so he was like, "Man, forget this," and he just went home. His house literally bordered the school, so he just hopped the wall into his backyard. It felt like he was the only person thinking logically at that point. But more time passes and eventually we get told that it's safe to go back to our classrooms. So we do, but at this point, it was lunchtime. So everyone is talking about it during lunch, trying to figure out if anyone knew any information. But then one of our teachers walked by during lunch, so we asked him if he knew what happened, and he said yes. And when I tell you the truth of this whole situation was ridiculous, I mean it. Because apparently, the intruder we were all freaking out over was just 2 kids from another school who were trying to play a prank. And let me explain what the prank was. So the week they did this was what our school called Rivals Week. And this was the week where we played our school rivals in football. So the intruders who were from this rival school were trying to do a prank of lighting fireworks off on our campus. But they weren't just any fireworks, they were mortars. So they were super loud, and when they exploded, it sounded like a gunshot. That was the loud bang we kept hearing throughout the day, and there was 2 of them doing it, which explained why we heard another bang go off after the first guy got arrested. So when the teacher explained all of this to us, that left me with 2 questions. Number 1, how are these kids that dumb to do that as a prank? And number 2, why would the school make an announcement scaring everyone saying that there's an armed intruder on campus when it's just kids shooting fireworks? What are they gonna do? Turn into Harry Potter and shoot fireworks at people? Calling someone coming onto campus with a firework an armed intruder is about as big of a stretch as when a random girl holds the door open for me so I tell my friends I think she wants me. Why did they have to say it like that? And usually during Rivals Week, the schools prank each other. But after this happened, our school was like, "Hey, y'all got it this year, man, all right? You win. We ain't pranking you back." But there was still one question left unanswered after all of this. Who was the person who tried unlocking the classroom door during the lockdown? Because the pranksters never went inside. They were just lighting fireworks outside the whole time. But I was able to figure out who it was the next day when I'm back in that same class and me and a couple other classmates are talking about this situation. But then one kid goes, "It's so crazy that I was stuck outside the classroom during this whole thing." When he said this, I went, wait. What did you just say? "Oh, well, I went to the bathroom before our class went into lockdown, and when I tried coming back, the door was locked and no one would let me in." Then he said he tried unlocking a couple more classroom doors doors, but those were all locked too. So he just went back into the bathroom and sat inside a stall this whole time without knowing what was going on, waiting for the situation to be over. So if you learned one thing from this whole story, it's that you should never go number 2 in a school bathroom.
Your school is literally on fire. Flames everywhere, smoke filling the hallways, ceiling tiles falling, total chaos. What's your first move? Well, obviously, it's to line up in alphabetical order in a single file line, like you're going on a field trip to the aquarium and not actively being barbecued. School drills are ridiculous. I'm not just talking about fire drills, I'm talking about all of them. Tornado drills, lockdown drills, earthquake drills, whatever other apocalyptic scenario your school decided you need to be ready for. I don't know who came up with school drills, but I'm convinced that whoever they are, they couldn't read a full page of a Harry Potter book if you asked them to. Because these drills just make no sense. Let's start with fire drills, because this is the one everyone knows. It's the OG drill. Fire drills are supposed to prepare us for the event that the school catches on fire, which honestly is a real possibility. Like, have you seen people in chemistry class? Students watch one episode of Breaking Bad and all of a sudden want to start trying stuff. One time in my chemistry class, this kid, who I won't say his name, but his name was Derek. Anyways, Derek decided that he was gonna see what happens when he mixes every single thing that's on the table in the same beaker. And I mean everything. Every chemical, every solution, every powder. The teacher wasn't even looking when he did this. She was helping someone else. And Derek just started pouring things into the same beaker like he was making a smoothie. So I'm watching this happen in slow motion and I'm just like, Derek, what are you doing? Derek, stop. Derek. But Derek didn't stop. No. Derek never stops. And after a little bit, the beaker started smoking. And not just like a little bit, no. There was smoke surrounding the classroom. It was like, we need to evacuate the building type of smoke. So of course, the fire alarm went off. Not because of a drill, but because of Derek. And you know what the teacher said right when that fire alarm went off?
All right, everyone, line up at the door.
Line up at the door? Derek just created mustard gas and you want us to line up at the door? But we did it. We lined up like the good little boys we were, almost passing out, and we walked slowly out of the building, all while Derek's chemical weapon dispersed through the ventilation system. And from that day on, there would be points in time where whenever I stood up, I would just randomly get lightheaded. And this never happened before that day. So I'm convinced because we had to line up in alphabetical order in front of the door instead of just running out of that room as fast as possible, I got something wrong with me that day. Derek got suspended for 3 days for doing this, and he was pretty happy to say the least. The point is, fire drills are insane. First of all, let's talk about the fire alarm sound, because whoever designed that noise had one goal in mind, and that was to make students suffer. The alarm is so loud, it could wake someone's grandma up that's in a coma. It could shatter bulletproof glass. There'd be times where I'd be sitting in class at 8:30 in the morning, barely conscious. My eyes are half closed. My brain's running on like 2% battery, just trying to make it to lunch. And then suddenly, and my soul would evacuate my body before I could evacuate the building. You'd think you'd get used to it, but no, you never do. Every single time I heard that sound, it turned me into one of those chihuahuas that randomly shake the whole day for no reason. Why do they do that, by the way? And once again, the teacher would just go,
Okay, everybody, line up at the door.
and you're just like, what? Like our ears are hemorrhaging and you want us to line up at the door? Dog, I'm about to hit stick whoever's in my way just to get out of this door. And then finally, your class actually does get outside and you see all the other classes. They're also just walking slowly like a parade of zombies. I used to see kids walking out of their classes with their hands over their ears, trying to protect what was left of their hearing. And the teachers had the audacity to tell them to put their hands down.
Sorry, little Timmy. I know your eardrums are bursting right now, but I'm gonna need you to take your hands off your ears. Thank you.
What do we need our hands down for anyway? In case we need to catch the fire? Are we gonna high five all the other people who made it out?
Good job escaping the fire, bro. Yeah.
And here's the thing that really gets me. Here's what keeps me up at night. In a real fire, no one's walking in a single file line. If there's actual flames, actual smoke, actual real danger inside that building, everyone in there is turning into prime Derrick Henry. It's about to look like Olympic tryouts with the way students will be hurtling over desks, shoving grandmas out the way, doing whatever it takes to get out of there as fast as humanly possible. And that's not me being dramatic, that's just the truth. It's just survival instincts. This is what kept our ancestors alive when they were being chased by saber-toothed tigers. Shout out to all our ancestors, by the way. I feel pretty bad for them. They never got to doom scroll. And you know what else I don't understand about fire drills? Why do the teachers take attendance making sure everyone is here? Because if you're taking attendance on that grass while the school is burning down and you find out Kevin and Miles are missing, what's the plan then, huh? Is she gonna heroically charge through the flames to find Timmy, who's been in the bathroom for the past half hour? No, she ain't doing anything. So what was even the point of the head count? Just to have accurate records for the memorial service?
Oh, so it looks like we're missing 2 students. That's unfortunate. Anyways, does anyone have any questions about the homework?
And 9 times out of 10, if there is a student missing during a fire drill, odds are they just left school when they heard that bell ring and went to Taco Bell. But fire drills aren't even the worst ones. At least with fire drills, the plan makes some kind of sense. Get out of the building. Simple. The way they do it is flawed, but at least they're trying. Tornado drills, on the other hand, make absolutely no sense. Like, None whatsoever. Now, I don't know why we even did tornado drills at my school, considering the fact that I went to school in California. Like, the closest thing I've ever experienced to a tornado is when I went through a self-service car wash. But despite this, we had tornado drills multiple times a year. And the tornado drill procedure is absolutely wild. So the tornado alarm would go off, which was different from the fire drill alarm, but equally annoying. Sounded like a dying whale pretty much. Very soothing. But instead of going outside like during a fire drill, this time everyone would gather into the hallway and we'd get down on our knees, face the wall, and put our hands on the back of our head. That was it. That was the plan. That was how we were gonna survive a tornado, by throwing it back in the hallway. I'm sorry, I don't see the logic. What exactly is that supposed to do? Is the tornado just gonna see us kneeling there and be like, ooh, they're in the tornado position. Guess I'll leave them alone. They clearly know what they're doing. Like, I'm just gonna say what we're all thinking. If a tornado hits our school, we're all gonna be on the back of a milk carton the next day. Like, we ain't making it past that. We're done. It doesn't matter if we're kneeling, laying down, doing a handstand. I'm not sure the people who created these drills know what a tornado really can do. A tornado will pick up your entire building and yeet it into the next county. I've seen it. Well, at least like on YouTube I have. And we couldn't even talk during these drills. Not at all. We had to be completely silent or else we'd get in trouble. And I get the logic behind that one, right? You don't want the tornado to hear you. Like, it's gonna change direction if it hears Arnold yapping in the hallway. I wasn't gonna go over the school, but I'm pretty sure I just heard Johnny sneeze. Let's go destroy his whole campus now. Let's talk about the position. The duck and cover, the fetal position, the I've accepted my fate pose. You're telling me that if a tornado hits, the best I can do is curl up into a ball and wish for the best? What is it protecting? My neck? From what? Flying debris? Let me just tell you this. If the roof is collapsing and there's debris flying at me fast enough to hurt my neck, me putting my hands over it isn't gonna do anything. I feel recoil just when I give people high fives. So a piece of wood flying at my head at 200 miles per hour is going straight through my hands. But we practice it like it's gonna save our lives. Like, this one simple trick is the difference between life and death. Matter of fact, has anyone watching this ever actually experienced a tornado at school and did this position? And if so, did it work? Meteorologists hate him. Local student survives a tornado with this one weird position. It's just not gonna happen. If a tornado hits, we're all in trouble. The only thing that matters is if the tornado decides to hit our building or not. But the most embarrassing tornado drill I ever experienced was during swimming class. We're in the pool doing laps, everyone's in swimsuits, hair's all wet, smelling like chlorine, and randomly, the tornado alarm goes off. We know it's not an actual tornado because we can see the sky and it's 75 degrees, no wind, and sunny. But our teacher blows his whistle and goes,
Everyone out! Tornado! Let's go!
we all get out of the pool. We're standing there dripping wet. And our teacher says,
No time to change. We need to get inside now.
so I'm out here, just in swim trunks, not quite looking like a bodybuilder to say the least. And we had to all go over into the classrooms while everyone else is in their normal clothes. We're running through the hallways in swimsuits, leaving wet footprints. You could just hear our feet slapping against the tile. All the other students were staring, pointing, laughing, and someone yells,
Why are they in swimsuits?
I know that was you, Jimmy. I still don't like you. Someone else whips out their phone and takes pictures of us. So, if you ever see a photo of me from that day in the school hallway, it was AI, okay? It was AI. So then, we had to do the AO position you do during tornado drills, but soaking wet. And we're just in that position for probably 10 minutes. But since I'm wet, there's water leaking from my body onto the ground. And eventually, it leaked all the way to the student that was sitting next to me. So he got mad and said,
Bro, did you just pee on me?
No. But he said it so loudly that I saw a bunch of people turn their head and definitely think I did do that. Now, we need to talk about lockdown drills. Now, you guys all know, this is my bread and butter. This is my time to cook right here. I'm a pro when it comes to these. This is where things get intense. Because lockdown drills are a uniquely American experience. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure other countries don't even practice this. They're over there doing fire drills, maybe earthquake drills, and tea parties or whatever they do in Europe. That's it. But in America, we have lockdown drills because we're America and we can't have nice things. Well, except for Chick-fil-A. It's weird that you guys don't have that in any other countries yet. It truly is amazing. The perfectly crusted chicken, the waffle fries, and the sauce. Oh, the sauce. Wait, what was this video about again? Oh, okay, drills, here we go. The lockdown drill procedure is absolutely wild when you think about it. The announcement comes on, this is a lockdown drill. Teachers, please secure your classrooms. And then everyone goes into lockdown mode. First, you turn off the lights, because apparently the darkness will protect you. This is like when I thought if I put my covers on when I'm in bed, the monsters won't get to me. I just imagine an intruder coming on a campus and all of a sudden the lights shut off. So they're just like,
Wait, where did all the students go? There must be no one here. You know what, bro? I give up. I'm going home. If only they had the lights on, I would have found them.
and then the next step is to lock the door. Okay, that one actually makes sense. Like, obviously, if someone's breaking into your school, if your door's locked, it's gonna be harder for them to get in. I'll give them that one. 1 point for the drill designers. But then, here's where it gets crazy. Because the next step is for everyone in the class to go to one corner of the room. The same corner. All 30 students crammed into one spot, hiding. And you have to be quiet. Like, dead silent. No one's allowed to talk. No moving, no breathing too loud, just a pile of students sitting there in the dark, waiting. Now let me ask you something. If you were looking for people in a building and you opened a classroom door, would you not see 30 kids crammed into the same corner? It's like we're trying to make it easier for the school intruder. Instead of being spread out around the room where at least some of us will have a chance to escape, we're all just in one place. But that's the drill. That's what we practice. Huddling together in the dark, hoping that nobody opens the door. But here's the thing that really gets me about lockdown drills. Because all the students are forced to do these drills, right? Everyone knows the procedure. Shut the lights off and be quiet. So this seems like a good idea until you realize the intruder is probably doing the drills with us. They did these same drills. They sat in the same corners. They know exactly what's gonna happen during a lockdown. So what's the element of surprise here? What's the strategic advantage? When they walk into a classroom and see that it's dark in there and no one's talking, you think they're gonna forget all the times where they practiced this same drill? It's like playing hide and seek, but you told the secret exactly where you're gonna hide before the game started. Okay, I'm gonna hide in the closet. The closet that's in the bedroom, and I'm gonna hide behind the coats. So just don't look in there, okay? Please, thank you. But we still practice it anyway. I remember one lockdown drill that went completely sideways. We're in class, doing our thing, and the announcement comes on. This is a lockdown. Teacher turns off the lights, locks the door. We all go to the corner. Everything is normal. But then nothing happens. Usually the drill lasts like 10 or 15 minutes. An administrator then walks around, checks the doors, makes sure that they're locked, and then they announce the drill is over. But this time, we're sitting there for 20 minutes, and then 30 minutes, and all of a sudden 40 minutes. So we started to think, wait, is this a real lockdown? Maybe this isn't a drill. And because we're all crowded together, people are starting to get antsy. We're crammed in this corner, it's hot, it's uncomfortable. Someone definitely farted and isn't owning up to it. The air is getting thick with tension and mystery gas from the students that were just in PE the period prior. Our teacher was trying to stay calm, but you could tell they were confused too. She keeps checking her phone and then looking at the door, like waiting for some update. Eventually an hour goes by. A full hour of sitting in the dark, in the corner, in silence, just marinating in someone's fart. And now people are starting to freak out. Is this real? Did something actually happen?
Why is this taking so long?
Is this how it ends?
I saw some kids start to text their parents, Mom, I love you, Dad, I love you. There was one kid who must have just not liked his parents because I saw his text message which said, it's finally time. Some kids are making jokes. One kid fell asleep, just completely passed out and started to snore. I respect that, honestly. But then finally, after an hour and a half, the announcement comes on. Lockdown drill is over. Thanks for your cooperation. That's it. No explanation, no apology, just the drill is over, go back to learning. We later found out that the speakers stopped working, so they had to go to every classroom individually and tell them the lockdown was over. But I don't know if somehow they just missed my classroom or what, because they never did that. But the worst experience I ever had with a school lockdown was all because of my phone. Because during lockdown drills, like I said, you have to be completely silent, not a whisper. Not a peep, total silence. The idea is that if you're quiet, nobody will know you're in there. The room will seem empty, so danger will pass by. But one time during a drill, I got so bored of just sitting there doing nothing that I pulled out my phone and tried to start playing Clash of Clans. But unfortunately, my volume was not off, and that stupid ringtone on that stupid game is so loud. So I opened the app and it went. Teacher immediately sprinted over to me and took my phone. But here's the thing, schools aren't quiet places. Schools are loud. So if suddenly, in the middle of the day, the entire school goes silent, that's basically an announcement that everyone is hiding. Sometimes it feels like we're just trying to make it easier for the intruder. And have you ever tried to keep 30 teenagers quiet for a prolonged period of time? It's impossible. Next up, we got earthquake drills. Now, I don't even know if all of you out there have done earthquake drills because I'm pretty sure you can only get an earthquake in certain areas. If you're a scientist or Scientologist or whatever out there and you know if that's true or not, please let me know. But like with me going to school in California my whole life, we would have an earthquake every 4 seconds. It wasn't weird at all for a... Oh wait, I think we're having one right now actually. Do you feel the ground shaking? Wait. Oh no, that's just my dad in the bathroom. Anyways, when you feel the earth shaking beneath you, the game plan here is pretty simple. You just hide right under your desk and pray. That's all. And if your classroom happens to collapse, oopsie. I will say this, out of all the drills, the earthquake one is pretty valid. Like whoever thought of this one was kind of cooking. I mean, the desks are pretty much made of steel, so they're safe to hide under. Like think about this, out of all your years in school, have you ever seen a desk break? I haven't, and I've had one thrown at me before. Don't ask why. But anyways, they're pretty safe protection. Personally though, if I feel a heavy earthquake incoming to the point where I think the roof might collapse, I'm jumping out the window. I don't care how many times I practice crouching under my desk. If I ever feel the slightest shake in the ground, I'm out of there. It'd be like this.
So if you carry 67 to the power of 2, then you get 40... Oh no, there's an earthquake. Wait, why did Tyler just jump out the window again?
I don't know, but that's the 3rd window he's broke this week. Even if jumping through the window doesn't work, at least the last position I was in wasn't the face down, cheeks up pose that you do during tornadoes. Now let's talk about the different types of students during these drills, because I guarantee you fall under one of these categories. Every school has these exact people. First, You've got the kid who takes it way too seriously. They treat these drills like the real thing. It's like when that alarm goes off, they become a veteran having flashbacks to the war. I remember one time during a fire drill, I had one of these kids in my class, and the moment the fire alarm went off, he sprinted over to the wall, grabbed the fire extinguisher, and told everyone to get in a single file line behind him. No one listened to him, of course, but what made it really funny was the teacher then said,
Michael, just shut up, dude.
all these students are definitely future ROTC kids. But then you've got the complete opposite. You've also got the student that doesn't take these drills seriously at all. Oh, the fire alarm went off? Cool. Time to go walk a marathon around the school. Maybe I'll travel to Europe during this drill. They're going everywhere except to the field where you're supposed to go. What's that? Oh, there's a lockdown drill happening? I think you mean nap time. The lights are off, everyone's being silent. This is the perfect time to catch up on the 4 hours of sleep I got last night from doom scrolling too much. Like there was a time where my high school got a bomb threat called in. I know, whoa, that's a little more serious than a fire alarm going off. I don't know who was beefing with 15-year-olds enough to call this in, but anyways, we never practiced a bomb threat drill before, so no one knew what to do. So the teachers just made every class assemble in the good old alphabetical order line, and we went outside, forcing us all to touch grass against our own will. And we're out there for a while, assuming this is just a drill, and nothing serious is going on. People were taking this so unseriously that I remember looking around and seeing a huge game of Duck Duck Goose between like 50 students, as if there wasn't literally a SWAT team entering our school at that same moment, making sure there wasn't a Call of Duty kill streak in one of the classrooms. And for some reason, one kid had a football with him, so all of a sudden, people are running a pickup football game while we're waiting to see if the school's gonna explode or not. And of course, the teachers tried to stop it, but the students would just use them as blockers to get another touchdown. And by these students, I also mean me, because I was playing in that game. So most people don't take drills seriously at all. And I don't blame them. The rules are ridiculous. They need to be changed. So if you're watching this right now, show this video to your teachers, your principal, your vice principal, your janitor, and tell them to hire me, and I will personally come to your school and come up with better drills. I'm being serious, by the way. I'm unemployed. I need a job really bad. Someone please help me.